Okay, so now the plan is I'm going to show you how to attach and start a round when you're going to start a pair of socks. So first off, we need to make sure that everything is aligned, and for the cast on method that we've done, it's actually fairly easy to see. So let's get those yarns in the back. So this red line is our cast on line, and as long as you have it inside on all the stitches here, I'll just lay them down so you can see. Okay, let's get them all organized here. So my preferred way of doing socks is on 5 needles, 4 with yarn and the 5th as the working yarn. So basically this is how we're going to start off. This is going to be our working yarn. So the orange is always going to be on this needle on the side, basically on your right hand side, and then we just want to make sure that nothing is twisted. So if this was like this, for example, not the way we're going to want to start. So we want to make sure that everything lines up nicely and nothing has been twisted. Okay, so just like regular knitting on 2 needles, we're going to be doing the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on this needle, which is the one closest to where we joined, and we're going to be using the working yarn from the 4th needle. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one looks twisted, but it's not. It's just the way the needle's sitting on the other needles. So we're going to let the rest of them kind of flop around because they're really not going to be in use. And we're going to take, this is our tail, so irrelevant. We're going to make sure we got our working yarn over here, and just like normal, working on 2 needles, that's really all we're doing. And we're going to join these 4 needles in one big round. So I'm making socks with a rib pattern, so I'm going to do probably a 1 by 1 rib. I haven't really decided what this pattern is going to look like. So as you work up the needle, as you work up the sock, you know, a couple of rows in, this is going to stay nice and tight, and you're not going to have to worry about any stitches flopping off or the needles twisting around. So you just have to be careful kind of the first go around to make sure that nothing gets twisted. So never start a needle unless you've made sure that everything is still aligned and there's no twists. So I don't think as I've been working along here that any of the other needles have twisted, but I'm always going to be sure by checking before I start. So a simple knit purl rib is what's going to start us off. Alright, 2 more and we'll be on to the next needle, and I'll show you how to watch for that. Okay, so needle 1 is done. Again, this red is nothing that we need to worry about because it is just the long tail cast on. So we're going to be moving on to this needle. And again, we wanted to make sure that the red, which was our cast on, always stays in the center. So now we've got a nice little, looks like a square, but it's going to be a perfect circle. All right, so our last stitch was a purl, so we're going to put the yarn behind and work on the front. It stays nice and tight. So it looks a little daunting having 4 needles on the go, but really it's the same rules apply as if you're knitting back and forth on regular straight needles. You're only working on 2 at a time. So you're never actually using the other ones at the same time. It's just a nice way to have a circle without having to join into any seams, especially in socks where you might actually see the seam. Ready to fly here. Okay, so needles 1 and needle 2 are done. So we're going to switch to needle 3. Again, this working tail is really long. Doesn't need to be, but it is. And again, we wanted to have the red on the center, so we were lining up needle number 3 with the red in the center. In case you're curious, the yarn I'm using is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. The nylon is what's going to give it its strength to be able to withstand the wear and tear that socks take on. And it is hand painted by a company called Turtle Purl Yarns, and I believe it's a company out of Quebec. Okay, so now we're on to the fourth needle. And again, just want to make sure that the cast on edge is in the center. So, and it is. It's working tail yarn. Working tail yarn is longer than normal than I would normally do, and only because I wanted to make sure that I went straight to where the orange and the red joined to start my cast on, so both my socks are going to be identical because it is a self-striping yarn. So last but not least, we'll connect needle. Okay, last purl, knit, and then purl. Okay, so that is all 4 stitches. Oh, drop my needle, but so see that we've got a bit of a gap between where the 4th and the 1st needle are. But as I mentioned, as we work through this and we join the next, so we're not going to go around again as far as the video goes, but I will show you that we're going to go up the 1st needle, grab our working yarn, and as we pull it snug, it will join those needles together, so you don't have to worry. The gaps between the needle joins do close up very nicely as you go. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Starting socks was a bit of a pain for me as I tried to learn from a book.